What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Brinson, I'm your host. We're going to do some betting trends, or really just talk about gambling and games. Joining me to do so on our Tuesday show. Like if we're a little distracted, it's only because we're thinking about America. USA plays shortly. Hopefully, for those listening to the podcast, we advance through the group stage. Joining me to not talk about soccer, Tyler Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Will? I was thinking about dressing up as the Jaguars mascot with, the America thong and just getting ready to roll for this.
That'd be fantastic. I'm actually surprised Breach hasn't showed up in a thong to this show.
Yeah, that feels like that should have already happened.
Yeah, we've been doing it for like 5 or 6 years. You'd think Breach would have pulled that off by now. So let's get into some. I gotta find my rundown. I had it in Slack, and I guess I sent you the rundown there, right? Yeah. So the first game we're going to talk about is Green Bay, Chicago. I think that there is, I guess I'm not confused by the line. I understand the line. It's Packers -3 at the Bears with a total of 42.5. There's obviously two major quarterback injuries to worry about here. Aaron Rodgers dealing with a broken thumb, and more recently, a rib situation, which probably won't have clarity until Friday. We'll get an injury report on Wednesday. I would guess that he's questionable with a rib. I mean, he's questionable with the ribs. Has he been on the injury report all
He's
season?
been on the injury report with the thumb
All season?
No, I think probably what he say. He suffered the injury in week 5. So
since then, okay, yeah,
week 5.
I should have been. Yeah, because the people sometimes teams do it less, a little bit less nowadays than they used to. I feel like, but like the Patriots used to put Tom Brady on the injury report every week with a shoulder injury.
Yeah,
just to be jerks. But he was fine.
Essentially.
Yeah. And it was, and honestly, like what Belichick was probably doing was not putting other people on the injury report and then like using Brady as a red herring. So people are like, Brady's on the injury report. It's like you don't even worry about the fact that like an offensive lineman has a leg dangling, and yeah.
Well, I think it was more prevalent when they had the probable, designation as opposed to the doubtful, doubtful, questionable. Once they got rid of that, it kind of you can't really say Tom Brady practiced fully all week with a knee injury, but he's still questionable. I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, they could be Tom Brady's probable with a shoulder injury or a knee injury. Right. Correct. And yeah, it seems like teams are maybe. I think too that the NFL may have said, listen, quit playing injury report games. We're going like. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a memo out there where Roger Goodell is like, you could be severely punished if you mess around with the injury report because we're partnering with gambling companies. Anyway, I digress. The point being, Aaron Rodgers and Justin Fields, I would guess at best, are both questionable on Friday to play in this game. I think, Sully, that this line, Packers -3 at the Bears, reflects, with a total of 42.5, reflects the belief that Aaron Rodgers is likely to play against Trevor Siemian and or Nathan Peterman. What's the view on that?
I mean, I'm not necessarily concerned too much about the Green Bay side of things because what we saw from Jordan Love in that small sample size was pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying he's Aaron Rodgers,
but that's sort of my point. Is like, okay, all right, let me ask this a different way.
Sure.
If what is the line if it's Jordan Love versus Trevor Siemian? Because I agree with you. I think Jordan Love looked pretty good in that small sample size.
I think it's probably maybe right where it opened, -2.5. Packers -2.5. I think you're kind of in the same ballpark.
I think it's maybe 1.5 or 2. I mean, although to your, by all means, finish making your point about what we saw from Jordan Love in that small sample size. Because I mean, honestly, like I had I'd sawed off a pretty big chunk of Eagles second half and Eagles second half under, and it looked great. Pounded the ball. Rodgers didn't do anything, and then Love comes in, and all of a sudden they're moving the football. So like maybe it should be 3.5 if Love's in there.
I mean, my question would be more about the Chicago side of things because I feel like you're going to get I think you're going to get either an average or an above average level of play from the quarterback position with Green Bay, no matter if it's Aaron Rodgers or Jordan Love, especially against the Chicago defense, who's going to be without Eddie Jackson now, who is dealing with a Liz Frank injury. The Bears, on the other hand, that just to me feels like a swing and a miss if all of a sudden Justin Fields isn't playing in this game because you're not getting much from anyone who's the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, so if it's Well, that's sort of what okay, then maybe the answer to my question is, does this line reflect just complete uncertainty for both teams? Because you can't make it Packers -5 or Packers -6, and then Justin Fields plays and and Bears +6 has been hammered. Yes, go ahead.
And so as we're talking about this, it's good to bring up, obviously,
Sure.
we're recording this, but we're on YouTube and stuff. Aaron Rodgers is doing his interview with Pat McAfee currently, and the quote comes out that says, "I got good news with my scans yesterday, so I plan on playing." So
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers, so the Jordan Love stuff, forget everything we just said. Aaron Rodgers is planning on playing.
Okay, so if it's right, well, I mean, he plans on playing. That's fine. That's not his decision ultimately.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if he plans on playing, he got good news. That means he'll probably play. Frankly, they shouldn't play him. But I think he's probably too stubborn not to play. Great call on grabbing that. That I assume you got a Twitter alert for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout out Rob Domofsky. Or whoever retweeted him that I get alerts from. So I'd be curious to see if this line moves. I think it should move a little bit off that, maybe 3.5. I think the market will just respect Rodgers. Like you're guaranteed to have Rodgers or Love in there. Like it's, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be just like, it's not just Jordan Love versus Justin Fields or bust. I could just see it moving like a half a point. Maybe not. Oh my God.
It's already up the board at Caesars.
Oh, is it really?
I'm trying to refresh. Yeah, no,
I'm trying to get a bet in then at my local. So it's going to go up then, right?
Yeah. I mean, his success against
I got Packers
Bears
-4. I got Packers -4 on here. Oh, sorry. I am literally putting in a bet.
Do you think this goes to 6.5? Is this go to, or do you think this hangs right?
I think it all depends on Justin Fields. Like they can rout the Bears.
Yeah.
If Justin Fields is not playing.
I mean, they're 23-7 against the spread in their last 30 meetings against the Bears.
All right, here's Matt Eberflus talking about Justin Fields. It's Packers week, so certainly we'll have more optimism and more excitement. Okay, let's see. This like 15 minutes ago when he was talking to. But it'll come down to see if he's ready. If he's ready, he's ready, and that's going to come down to strength and mobility. If that's the way, he's got a green light. He's feeling better. To play, the Bears have said Fields must pass 3 levels. I'm reading this on Bears Digest, whatever, SI.com. He needs to feel good enough. He needs medical clearance. Then he needs approval from decision makers, Eberflus and GM Ryan Poles. Eberflus said Fields was 0 for 3 at clearing the required hurdles against the Jets. But if he's ready to go 100%, like I said last week, to protect himself and play the way he does and performing the way he does, and the doctors clear him, Ryan, I say he looks good and he feels good about it, then it's a green light. I would be surprised if they played Justin Fields here.
Well, that's what I was going to say too. These two franchises are in very different standings with their quarterbacks right now. Fields, they're just scratching the surface with this kid. He's just starting to emerge. Obviously, hurts the left throwing shoulder. You don't want to risk him all of a sudden ruining all of this good momentum that he's built with a coming back early, re-injuring or further injuring and putting him on the shelf, for the fear would be for the rest of the season. You don't do that with that type of an asset.
By the way, Nada, you can update the graphic if you were the bug at the bottom. It is Green Bay -4 and a total of 43.5. So Aaron Rodgers worth 1 point, or Aaron Rodgers it's back up on Caesars. I think I don't know if I like the over though. I don't know if Rodgers being in there makes me like the over. I mean, I understand why it moved up. Locally, it did not for me, which is kind of interesting. I kind of wanted to take the over ahead of the news, but if Justin Fields is not playing, I don't think I do like the over.
Well, the question is, how healthy is Aaron Rodgers? Yes, he's planning on playing in this game, but is he going to look like the Rodgers that we saw on the drive right before he left that game? Because he was wincing, couldn't do much of anything before he left that game. And so are we going to start feeling a little bit of that as this game goes along? If he gets one crack, is all of a sudden everything changing with him in terms of his impact on the game?
Now, worth noting here too, it is possible, Sully, that this is the last time that majority owner of the Chicago Bears, Aaron Rodgers, plays the team that he owns. Seriously, Ryan Wilson went a little high for my liking. He said he thinks 5.5% chance Rodgers comes back next year. So come on. So he thinks a 94.5% chance Rodgers retires. It's a horrible number, right? No. Breach and I both said we think he comes back. but like it is not off the table that he could retire this offseason. And if he does retire this offseason, this will be the last time he plays the Bears, who he really, really, really does not like and has destroyed throughout his entire career. So I would guess there's a pretty hefty painkiller shot on his ribs and a bunch of padding, and that he goes out there. And look, Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon could honestly destroy the Bears on their own. I mean, the Bears, just not really good at slowing anybody down. Rodgers also added, I pride myself, this Mike Garofalo tweeting this, pride myself on not coming out of games that had played through a lot of things over the years. Recalls Randall Cobb's punctured lung. That was pretty scary. I've heard some other stories as well. I just want to make sure that wasn't the case. Now, he did go back into the game. Or he did not go back into the game.
Did not, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's something like he could have, I guess.
I guess that seems,
You know what I'm saying? A little contradictory.
Yeah, that seems a little off. But just to further your point home, again, he does dominate this team. 23-5 in his career in the regular season, 67.6 completion percentage, 63 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, which is the most touchdowns he's thrown against a specific team. A 109.9 passer rating. He crushes this team when he's fully healthy. It's just a matter of, is he fully healthy, and is this going to be a, like you were kind of alluding to, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, let's just run it against them, and we can keep this quarterback out of harm's way and still win this football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the one thing. Like I was initially thinking when we were gearing up for the show, I was like, I kind of want to take the over blindly, thinking we might get Rodgers versus Fields, and against these two defenses, it could be a shootout. But I think, I mean, what was the final score of that Jets game?
31-10,
which doesn't get you to 44. And the Packers defense, not as good as the Jets defense, but they can certainly slow down Trevor Siemian. Yeah. And again, they'll be amped up with Rodgers playing. I think they'll show out much better than they showed against the Eagles. So I took some Packers -4, thinking it might go a little bit higher. Wouldn't be surprised if it did go up. I don't think I would take the over. If you could find a Packers team total, which is probably 39 with 20, 24. I would like the over on the Packers team total, I think.
Yeah.
AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones should have monster games. We'll probably look for those props. Those aren't going to be available yet. It's still too early in the week, but just sort of thinking ahead and thinking out loud. Let's go to, would you take Rodgers? Oh, yeah. We'll go to Seattle. No, you're good. No, sorry, my bad. Seattle Rams. I was actually my buddy Ben Solak, friend of the pod, Ben Solak. He's been on the pod, I think. He's definitely been on the pod. I'm going to chat with him, and he was like, I'm going to grab Seahawks -6.5. I was like, oh yeah, I love that. We were talking about that on the pod with Breach on Sunday. Like, grab the Seahawks now because that line, it was 4.5. That line's going to go up. And I went and looked, and I had a 5. I was like, oh yeah, I got 5. And I clicked 5, and it goes Seahawks -7. And then I was like, wait, what? So I got some Seahawks -7. And then it was Seahawks -8 within like a few minutes. The reason why, Aaron Donald suddenly has a high ankle sprain. It's back down to 7.
Those ones that creep up on you like 4 hours after the game type of injury?
Yeah, it's because I don't think we heard about Aaron Donald's high ankle sprain. That leads me to believe that obviously like Aaron Donald's not just going to sit if he's healthy. But like, Allen Robinson's out for the year now. Aaron Donald, if he has a high ankle sprain, he should miss the next, 4 to 6 weeks. Wow, what convenient timing. Matthew Stafford has no business coming back on the field. You cannot bring Cooper Kupp back. Like, you should really shut down Jalen Ramsey. Give Jalen Ramsey a high ankle sprain too. It's a huge line on the road. I believe that there was some talk of like, oh no, that's the chart. It's a huge game. It's a division game. It's on the road. Means a ton for the Seahawks. Doesn't mean anything for the Rams, except for like they're helping Detroit out with a better pick. Really, I wouldn't want to lay like 10 here, but I'm fine laying 7. And I think that when we see the first injury report for the Rams on Wednesday, and that you're going to see a huge list of guys who are either out or questionable or doubtful. And I think that it is in the Rams' best interest, Sully, to sit everybody and to just wave the white flag on the season. Like, you're going to try. Everybody's going to try, but just don't put anybody of importance out there, because if you tear you rush Cooper Kupp back, he tears his ACL and he has to miss half of next year, you're going to feel really stupid.
Right. You took the words right out of my mouth. I think when we see this injury report, it is going to effectively be a white flag that says, okay, we're going to kind of mail it in here. We are too banged up. We're too far out of it to even really think about putting not even putting a competitive team in on the field. It's we don't want to put these pillars to what was a Super Bowl champion a year ago and what we hope to be a more productive team in 2023 in harm's way of that. And like you were saying with Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, any one of those guys. But even still, just looking at them throughout this season, they're 1-5 against the spread at home. It's the second worst ATS record at home this season with any team. And Seattle, they lost last week. They're trying to get things back in order, and they're trying to get themselves firmly in the playoff picture. I would love taking this at 7. I would be a little bit nervous if this thing creeps up to double digits, but as long as it stays within that realm, I'm very comfortable taking that.
I am with you as well. 7. I mean, you prefer 6.5, but
Sure.
like no Aaron Donald is going to make life a lot easier for Geno Smith. You have multiple wide receivers who can do damage for the Seahawks, so it's not like Jalen Ramsey can just lock down DK Metcalf.
And not only that, you look at what on the, we're talking obviously about the big pillars with Stafford and Kupp and Donald, but even like Allen Robinson's gone now for the year. And,
who's catching the ball? There's Van Jefferson is there at number 1.
Like you're talking about Skoranek, you're talking Van Jefferson, Tutu Awale.
Catching the ball from Bryce Perkins, who, by the way, I thought looked like a lot better than he should have in that situation against the Chiefs on the road. Given everything that was going on, but at the same time, like, I mean, come on, this is I don't think the line, we saw the line come back a little bit. I still see it at I'm trying to make sure it's at 7 everywhere. Yeah, I see a 7.5. I don't mind the under Rams team total under 2. I think they're going to have a lot of trouble scoring points. I mean, the 7 they scored against the Chiefs was really in garbage time. All right, one more game we want to talk about that involves potential line moves. Cleveland, Houston, expanding. We have currently at Caesars, the Cleveland Browns are -7, a total of 47. That is a robust total. Obviously, this is the Deshaun Watson return. I mean, we talked about this a little bit, so we don't have to on the press coverage show on Monday, so we don't have to spend a ton of time on this. It's obviously, it's a morally complex. I don't know if it's complex, but it's a unique situation, Sully. Deshaun Watson going back to his hometown, his old team, playing them on the road. They are very bad. Like I said, that total is really high. I don't think the spread. I think the spread's too short still. 7. If 7 is like, to me, we aren't sure if Watson will be good, but as you pointed out on Monday, he's had time to practice with the team. Like I think he comes in and tries to. I think they try to show him off a little bit, if only to make your bosses happy with make the Haslam's happy.
Yeah. See, I think for me the under is the play here at 47. Ooh. You look at what the game was last week with Houston and Miami. I mean, Miami had their absolute way with this defense en route to 30 points, and they shut them out for the first half. The Texans, and so those 15 points were in garbage time, and even still, you're going under that total. So when you have an absolute dominant performance by one team, and even when they were creeping back in garbage time, we're still under this number last week. And as much as we're saying that Watson could show out, I would say 30 points is roughly showing out, right? I mean, that's.
Do you know how many total net yards the Texans had in the first half? I just looked it up in the game book. It's pretty amazing.
Was it better or worse than the Colts? 70 something.
It was much worse. 32. Ooh. Yeah, on 25 plays. That is
not great.
Quick math. 1.28 yards per play. That is unbelievably horrendous.
Yeah. Again, it comes back to just teams keying on their backfield, which, Dameon Pierce for a minute there was their best option offensively. You had to run them 5 times last week for 8 yards. It's
4
obviously
4 for 7 is what the book shows. I mean, yeah, they don't have any. I mean, yeah. Oh no, sorry. 5 times in the whole game. 4 for 7.
Right.
I was looking at the game book. I was like, wow, Keenan Allen or Kyle Allen only threw 16 times. They didn't convert it. They're really bad. The Dolphins could have been up 45-0. Honestly,
I mean, they put the starters away and they pretty much milled this in.
When Teron Armstead strained his pec and Jeff Wilson got banged up, and they yanked everybody out of there, like, all right, we're up 30-0. Our defense can handle this. So
I don't think Cleveland's going to do that, obviously, but I don't think that they have the capability, the offensive firepower that the Dolphins do,
Right.
even if Deshaun
Yeah, it's
Watson
just,
is
it's
cooking
just
on
an
all
unknown.
cylinders.
It's just an unknown. Yeah.
Right. And
Um,
so we saw him a little bit shaky. Again, you got to remember, too, as much as we're saying how talented he hasn't played football in such a long time.
an actual game.
And so that is going to impact this. That's why I think that spread as in the total here is a little bit kind of, I think they tell the same story that, like you were saying, the 7 is saying that we think Watson can go off, but we're not entirely sure, which to me screams, let's just take the under. Let's not even deal with that.
All right. There you go. And if Watson stinks, then your under it looks even better. I'm just sort of monitoring. Nothing moved. We got 4 and 43.5 for the Bears and the Packers. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, some stinky cheese. What cheese smells the worst? Next. It's not an actual cheese podcast, by the way. Although
we weren't gonna swap charcuterie designs.
I'm a big cheese guy myself, Sully. I don't know about you.
Oh yeah, I'm making it.
Yeah, I'm a big.
We had a bunch of cheese boards going at Thanksgiving. It was quite the time.
Oh, lovely. I'm such a cheese guy that did I tell you about how I got to my parents' house one time, just a few months ago, and my mom always keeps some Gouda in there, and she some Havarti, white cheddar, just a nice nice cheeses. And when I always you get there and you're hungry, you need a snack. She's got some rosemary, Cars water crackers, a good, nice,
I'm there for it.
Yeah. And so I was like, ooh, nobody was there. And Robbie and I got there. And I was like, I'm gonna get a snack, buddy. You want one? He's like, yeah. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get some. I open up the fridge, I pull open the drawer where the cheeses are. And there is a thing of cheese with a stick-it note on it that says, do not eat this cheese. And I was like, she got home. I was like, that note was for me, right? She was like, yeah, that note was for you, cheese guy.
Now, be honest. Did you look at that note, crinkle it up and throw it away? Or did you
abide by it? I knew that my mom would not, Ann Brinson would not do that unless it was that cheese was specifically designed for some sort of usage. And indeed, she had I think she was taking it to a bridge thing, which, boy, am I being utterly maximum Caucasian-y here. Anyway, so let's find out if Eric Cage listens to this show. The New York Jets and the Minnesota line is a little weird. The Vikings and the Jets line to me is a little weird, if only from a historical standpoint. The Vikings are -3. And I'm not suggesting that I'm not trying to suggest that we hammer the Vikings because of this, but I was just curious, all right, it's week 13. When was the last time that the Jets were a 3-point or less underdog on the road, in December or, after week 10 against a team that's 500 or better? I looked it up, actually. Look at me. Doing a little research. And the answer is technically 2019, but it was week 17 at the Bills when the Bills had pulled everybody. So I took that out and I refined the search. And I said, all right, weeks 10 since 2000, weeks 10 through week 16, Jets on the road, 3-point dog or shorter against a team that was about 500. 4 times since 2000. The last one, 2015, week 11 at Houston. They were -3, which I don't remember what they were doing in 2015. I think that was Todd Bowles. They did not cover. They actually lost.
Okay.
Before that, it was Monday Night Football, week 12, 2014 at the Bills. They lost 38-3. Before that, at Chicago in week 16, they lost 38-34. They did not cover any of those 3 games. The last time they covered in this spot, and I'm not suggesting that this is indicative of what they will do on Sunday against Minnesota. Just I think it's interesting. The last time they covered in this particular specific set of circumstances was when Tony Dungy in 2009 pulled all his players, including Peyton Manning, after they. So that they were trying to go for the perfect season. Jeff Saturday actually got pissed about it and spoke out publicly about it, claiming he was mad that Dungy pulled his guys. It was they were losing to the Jets. It was a good, decent Jets team, right? Went to the AFC Championship game, pulled all their players, and the Jets ended up winning 29-15. So I don't know, it's a betting trend show. So that's a trend, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little fun fact, if anything.
Yes. Yeah. They also had a KC game too, but I can't find out. Anyway.
Needless to say, the Jets have not been that good of a football team for a while, and now all of a sudden they might be decent.
Right. So I guess the question is, is that maybe this line should have been on the stinky cheese line. Like, why shouldn't the Vikings be more than -3? Is this seriously? If Zach Wilson, it's like 5.
So I think the question is, how much stock are you putting in Mike White in that performance that we saw last week against
Mike White is actually my mom's bridge club.
Oh, nice. There you go. Is that the cheese spread too? Like,
Yeah. Mike White loves charcuterie.
but also, how much stock do you put into what that Vikings defense looked like on Thanksgiving? Because, I'm up here in New England. I'm watching the Patriots very intently. They have not been a good football team offensively this season.
This show last week, we previewed it, and I said, I like the Patriots. You're like, you're an insane person. They stink on offense.
Because everything we've seen so far, they stink, except for on Thanksgiving. It looked like they were like high-flying offense. It looked like the greatest show on turf for a second.
Yeah.
And so how much of that was New England clicking for whatever reason, or are there some fundamental issues with Minnesota in the secondary, specifically deep? And so if you're looking at how Mike White played last week, he was completing a bunch of deep passes to Garrett Wilson and a bunch of other different receivers. Could this be a weakness for the Minnesota Vikings? And is this a kind of one of those situations where maybe you can kind of nip them a little bit? I don't know, but maybe that's what we're looking at.
It's like the 6th highest total on the board, which is, for the Jets and the Vikings. I mean, it's not like, it's not robust. Maybe it's like right there with, like outside of the, you have the Chargers and the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Bengals, which are no brainer 50+ point totals. Jaguars Lions also above 50. Some really high totals actually this week. Browns and Texans 47. And then you have this one that's at 45.5. Like, I don't think it's crazy that this game kind of turns into a shootout.
It's possible, but I mean, this Jets defense is no joke. They are insane. 4th in points per game, 3rd in yards per play, 2nd in EPA per game. They grade, top of the league in terms of Pro Football Focus. They have been able to, their defense is why they are where they're at, obviously. I mean, they're going through the quarterback situation with Zach Wilson, and they're maybe starting to figure it out with Mike White. That was the only issue with this team right now. Everything else, we've talked about it a bunch. They've kind of blossomed early. They have the pieces ready to go. It's just been that quarterback spot. So if all of a sudden they're getting, and again, Mike White, I'm not expecting him to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every single week. But if they get average quarterback play that doesn't shoot them in the foot, they're going to be in all of these games because of that defense.
You know who's going to run hot this weekend? Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight, my guy from NC State. Okay. Great landing spot for him. Perfect fit in this offense. I actually have an offensive rookie of the year ticket on him. I mean, I'm not expecting it to cash, but like if he's just the primary back for the Jets somehow for the rest of the season, like who the hell knows? It's a great offensive scheme for him. He's a fantastic, explosive one-cut runner. I think he'll see plenty of carries against this Minnesota defense. By the way, Sauce Gardner, PFF's highest graded cornerback and has the lowest completion percentage allowed, 41.1%. As a primary defender in coverage this season, minimum 50 attempts. The 3 best wide receivers to face the Jets this year, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Jamar Chase, combined for 18 catches for 169 yards and 1 touchdown. Note that Skylar Thompson started for the Dolphins against the Jets. Tough spot for Justin Jefferson against Sauce Gardner. Will be very interesting to see how he performs, because nobody's been able to slow him down so far this year. All right. Next up, finally. Oh yeah. Washington, New York. It's pretty insane to see a 7-4 team in week 13 as a 2.5 point home underdog against a division rival. Yes?
Yes, very much so. But but that obviously doesn't tell the whole story. I mean, this New York Giants team has kind of been turning into a little bit of a pumpkin. Obviously, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries. And on the other side, Washington has actually been good. 6 of their last 7 they've won, and their defense has been winning them games. Obviously, Taylor Heineke's stabilized things. It's very similar to what I was saying with New York. As long as they're getting stable quarterback play, not necessarily have to, be Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, just kind of manage it and don't turn the ball over. You're going to be in a lot of these games. And you saw last week, if you have a good defense, you can make plays and win the football game for you, which is what they did against Atlanta at the goal line.
Washington is on its bye next week, I believe. Is that right? I think this is what.
Sure.
Yes. I'm just confirming that is correct. I don't trust. Again, I don't trust.
Trust is sure.
Yeah. No, week 14 is their bye. Larry Hartstein had our pal Larry Hartstein, friend of the pod. and who goes to great work. Sportsline had a tweet with the Cardinals and the Panthers covering in Week 12. NFL teams this season improved to 19-5 against the spread and 17-7 straight up the week before their bye. That's a really interesting betting trend. I mean, I don't know if it's predictive, but I mean, I do think there is possibly something where it's like these teams know. I mean, you got your bye coming up. You're it's like a look ahead. Like, all right, let's go. Especially with a team that
they're going to face back-to-back weeks now. I mean, when they're sandwiching the bye around New York.
Well, and the Giants do not have their bye. Like, if you're Washington and you're Ron Rivera and you look at this game, you say, listen, if we go take care of business against this team, we get to control. We are at home hosting them again, which we almost, you sweep the Giants, you almost guarantee you're in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're like, if we get a break in between the week to figure out what we did right, what we did wrong, and to correct some stuff and then to emphasize some stuff. Whereas the Giants have to go, we have to play the Eagles at home. Oh man. I mean, this is I kind of like Washington, I think.
Well, let me tell you this too, just to give you another trend that may swing it the other way. Home underdogs this season are 41-29-2. That's a 59% cover percentage. That's on pace to be the best in the league since 1989.
Wow. All right. Finally, because we got to get to America. Which afternoon line? I picked out 3 afternoon lines that I thought were kind of stinky. The 49ers minus 3.5 against the Dolphins. And I wrote Dolphins plus 3.5 because it's like the Dolphins are great. This is a revenge or like a big revenge spot or, whatever you want to call it for Mike McDaniel. And the Dolphins are catching 3.5. Interesting. The Chiefs minus 2.5 at the Bengals. Bengals are hot. Beat the Chiefs in the playoffs last year. Beat the Chiefs in the regular season last year. And the Chargers minus 2 at the Raiders. That was not stinky. That was like too short. Like, really? The Chargers? Like, are the Chargers good?
That's the one that concerns me the most because everything about the Raiders this season has gone downhill, except for Josh Jacobs, obviously. We ran insane last week. But they are not a good football team this year right now. The Chargers, they are the more impressive team. I feel like they have the more stable offense. I don't know. That feels a little weird that I'm only laying 2 there. I'd feel a lot more confident going there. And so, the other ones I can kind of talk myself into. I mean, the Miami situation, I'm a little bit concerned with because of Teron Armstead. Is he for sure out? I think he's for sure.
I think he's out.
I think he's out for this week. Yeah. That's no small thing. But then on the other side, too, they're going to manage knee irritation for Christian McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell is going to be out. Those are 2 key pillars to each offense. That makes I don't know how that's going to,
I think the Armstead thing is bigger than is. I think the Armstead thing is huge. Like, yeah. I don't think that we fully realize, you're talking about not blindside because too is a lefty, but like if Armstead is out and like how much does it impact the running game? Also, I tend to think too that like Mike McDaniel's a great coach, and I think he's I'm all in on Mike McDaniel. There's nothing to get me out on it, but Kyle Shanahan, first time back going to San Francisco. That's a lot of stuff to manage emotionally, psychologically, etc. And Kyle Shanahan knows what you're going to want to do. You might know what Kyle wants to do, but he really you're going back to the guy you worked for. I think.
Isn't that the whole McVay thing? It kind of falls under that similar premise.
I mean, we see it. I think we see it with all the time. Like it's hard to beat your mentor, and so I would probably lean towards the 49ers here. I think this line is begging. I don't know if the Vegas does this as much anymore, like begging you to take the Dolphins, but I think most people are going to look at it and say, give me the 3.5 of the Dolphins. And I think San Francisco could like secretly romp them.
Well, especially with that 30-point just flex where they're, putting their starters away towards the tail end of that second half. I do think that hook is going to entice a lot of people to take the Dolphins. And to me, yeah, I'm with you with the 49ers. And not only is it Armstead, but this defense has not played well. I shouldn't say well, but they've played worse on the road.
The 49ers are going to be able to score on the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the Dolphins can score in the 49ers, but I don't know how much. The 49ers defense is elite.
Yeah.
All right. And then Casey at Cincy. I mean, I'm going to take the Bengals, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mahomes went in there and won. I mean,
right. I mean, if he's,
I think it'd be I think that's a close scoring shootout. You can't talk me into it not being a high scoring game. I mean, I'll tell you that much. And neither team should be able to run all of that well.
Well, because it's trending that Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon will be back for this week. I'm like 80% sure that was the latest report that I read. And so, that team's cooking on.
You're saving him for the Chiefs. Like, all right, just take one more
exactly.
week. We got this. Take one more week. Get right.
So they're going to be firing on all cylinders offensively. This is a spot that I think Joe Burrow loves playing in. And also, obviously, Patrick Mahomes, you could put him in on the moon and he'd still be able to find a few touchdowns.
Well, it just, I mean, the total here is the highest total on the board by far, 52.5. The next closest is it's like Jaguars Lions. What the hell? I think we see a ton of points in this one. I'd lean towards the over and probably Cincy if I had to pick anything in that game. All right, I'll do it. Go America. Go us. Go Sully. Go Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Go Pick Six Pod. See you guys later.